and then I will post it later. Sharing this. Good. Okay, great. Okay, so Bilal's asking, can anyone give any suggestions for studying aside from the slides and the textbook material? What I always say, okay, is study from my YouTube channel. I have a series of old exams already on there, kind of like what we're going to go through right now. I think I've got like 3 or 4 old other exams, as well as I have other exam questions specifically zooming in on like videos specifically zooming in on specific topics. So if you're struggling with a topic like discrimination, then go to those videos and tackle those questions. So my YouTube will be, and this is where this is going to be posted, is number 1. Then I would say what we cover in the slides and what we talked about in class, and then textbook. That's probably, if you had in the order, that's what I would say, right? And if you have all the time in the world, which none of us do, but if you did, excuse me, do all of those, okay? Good. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along, but other than that, I'm just gonna go through it. Okay. So so far this term we have covered 6 chapters. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Recruitment and selection were both covered last class. So that's why it's been 5 classes rather than 6. However, I actually didn't find that the first lecture was kind of like, it was like super broad. It was like kind of condensed. It was like an intro. So I'm actually not asking any questions specifically devoted to the first chapter. Okay. So instead, what I'm doing is I'm asking 13 questions related to each of the other chapters. So 13 times 5, 75, 75, 65 are the number of questions on your exam. Okay. So I have 10 multiple choice questions, kind of standard uh, for each chapter. And then I also have kind of like a mini case and 3 specific questions related to that mini case. Okay, I'll give you examples in this kind of session that'll explain that in a little more detail. Okay, let's jump into job analysis and design. Okay, so here are 2 questions from last year's midterm. Let's go through it. So you work in, okay, so 2 things. 1, this is going to be recorded and posted. So if you want an opportunity to study first and then come back to it, don't feel like you have to stay today. Actually, I'll do the poll. I'll do the poll for this first question so that people feel that they can go whenever they want. All right, so I'm asking a poll right now. What is the correct answer for question 8, the first question here? Okay, so people feel that they can go if they want to study more, and then they can watch this video, the day before the exam or something like that. If you want to stay around and ask questions, I would definitely enjoy that as well. Okay, so let's take a look at this question. So only 4 people have answered so far. I think they just answered and pieced out, which is fine. Okay, so you work in a company where there are 6 engineers, 3 senior engineers, 6 engineers, 2 accountants, 14 data entry clerks. There's also 4 people in the process of applying to a new engineering position. Okay, that has not yet been created. How many jobs and positions are described? Where's my little mouse? Here we go. So as I'm counting up, 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and the data entry clerk is 4 jobs. There's 4 people applying for this. Well, they're applying for it, but it doesn't really mean there's, maybe a new position, possibly, but that's not a new job. Okay, so we know there's going to be 4 jobs. So anything that has the word 4 jobs, we know is a possibility. Okay. And then as we count up, now we're counting up positions. Okay, so 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus that is 25. 4 people in the process of applying. So they haven't yet applied for this, but it's a 1 new engineering position. So 24 plus 1 is 25. Okay, let's see whether my math is correct. There we go. How many people got that right? Share the results. Here are the results shared. Only 1 of you got that right. Okay, there we go. So that's why those questions can be tricky. All right, let's keep going. Somebody's asking, Somebody's asking why there are 4 jobs. Let's repeat those 4 jobs, okay? Senior engineer is one job. Engineer is another job. An accountant is one job, and a data entry clerk is another job. Those are the 4 jobs. Okay, let's keep going on to the next question. The process of systematically organizing work into tasks that are required to perform a specific job. Okay, so kind of like the hint. So one of the things when I'm building these exams, I make 10 questions related to each chapter and I have them in a block. Okay. And then, so that way I make sure I have the same amount of questions per chapter. And then afterwards, I take 2 and put it somewhere else, and I take another 2 and put it somewhere else. So typically you'll have like these blocks, say like of 5 of 6 questions in a row related to a topic. Okay. So if you're ever like puzzled as to like, oh man, like I don't know what this question is related to, maybe look at the question before, the question after, and that'll give you an indication as to what like the chapter or the concept I'm asking for here is. Okay. Now based on here, it's clear all of these topics are related to job analysis or job design. So systematically organizing work into tasks that are required to perform a specific job is, by definition, is job design. That's how we defined it in the textbook. That's how we defined it in on the slides. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll have. So is the midterm sectioned out into chapters? No, the midterm is not sectioned out into chapters. You won't know. I won't label this is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter. I won't. I'm mixing them around. I'm giving you a suggestion that if a question's really puzzling you, then you can look at the question before and after to give you a hint as to what this question might be related to. It's not 100%, but it could be a hint. Okay, so there's 10 questions related to like the standard questions, and then there's 3 questions. There's going to be one of these mini cases associated with each of the 5 chapters I'm examining you on. Okay, so here's an example of a case. It's a bit of a beast for this first one, but it gives you perspective. Okay, so this is the job analysis case. Usually it's pretty clear what the case is related to. Okay, and then you're gonna have 3 questions. I'll pop up 1 question at a time related to this. Okay, so let's go through this. So the Cactus Corporation, a manufacturing company, has been facing challenges related to employee motivation and job satisfaction. So for me, what I do as I'm reading this, I highlight words that are like, that seems like it's going to be important. Okay. Management has noticed a decline in productivity and increased turnover rates. That means people aren't as productive and people are leaving. To address these issues, they decide to conduct a job redesign. Okay, so we're talking about job design. Okay, so we're trying to do a job design. The HR team first conducted a thorough job analysis and identified that the current job lacks variety and autonomy, okay, leading to employee dissatisfaction. Okay, so folks are unhappy. After consulting with employees, they decide to reorganize the work tasks to improve employee satisfaction. Okay, so that's kind of like the end goal was to improve satisfaction. I'll tell you what, I've already, like obviously I know the question. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the question. Sometimes when you have this like a beast of a case, read the question first so that as you're going through it, you'll know where to like zoom in your attention. This question asks, what job design strategy did the HR team first implement in the case? So this first paragraph is, 1, and the second one is 2, right, when you get to it. Okay, so let's just focus in on the first one to start off. Any ideas? Okay, so which one of these job design techniques are we talking about? The focus is about, the end goal was about improving employee satisfaction. That's kind of like job enrichment. Job enrichment, you change the activities for helping employees find more meaning, more value, other than just a paycheck in their work. So if they improve employee satisfaction, that's one way that's related to it. Okay, so that's kind of like your big hint that we're talking about job enrichment. Okay, now let's go to the next one. What job design strategy did the HR team implement second? Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. After realizing that the first redesign didn't work, shucks, The HR team tried a second strategy, which involved allowing employees to experience different aspects of the production process. Okay. Additionally, they enhanced task significance. Okay, so they did this as well by emphasizing the impact of each employee's role on the overall product quality. The training programs were initiated to equip employees with necessary skills for their expanded roles. Okay, so um, okay, so here, of all of these options, if you're allowing employees to experience different aspects of the production process, you're not simplifying somebody's task to fewer options. You're not, empowering employees so that they can design their own, design their work the way they do their work in their own way. We already, the first question in this case was about job enrichment, and there's no mention of like expanding meaning or satisfaction. So that's one. Now I would say that the closest here, okay, is the idea of enlargement or job rotation. Job rotation is the idea you're going from one spot to another spot, and some ways experiencing different aspects of the production process for a period of time and then going to another one. So for me, this is like, that's what it would be. Job enlargement is the idea that you're typically when you're acting, you're taking on new tasks, you're enlarging your portfolio of activities. So it's not the idea that you're shifting to a different aspect. It's the idea that you're growing the amount, the variety of work that you're doing, which doesn't seem to be really doesn't seem to be talking about growing one's portfolio. It's really just about the idea of experiencing different aspects of this. So that's why it would be job rotation. Okay, now the last one, how did the HR team enhance task significance during the job redesign initiative? So here it references it here. They enhance task significance by emphasizing the impact of each employee's role on product quality. Let's see, emphasizing the impact of each employee's role on product quality. Yeah, so it's word for word, right? So as long as you read, you kind of highlight the word, right? And then read the next sentence, read the, what's in that sentence, and you'll be able to get it, okay? And that's the chapter 2, okay? So let's go on to HR planning, okay? Which is not typically a factor considered within HR planning, okay? So if you remember HR planning, there is the demand and the supply side, okay? So turnover rates would be supply. Actually, I'll put it here, okay? Economic trends could affect demand, okay? Organizational structure is the supply because it speaks to the idea of how many jobs you might have or how many people you might have in certain jobs, okay? Training preferences, I don't know about the word preferences, maybe training, and then legal requirements of the job. So I would say is that demand or supply? I think that might be related to the demand, supply, maybe the supply, whether you have a certain, licenses or whatnot for your work. Yeah, so I think the thing that throws people off here is this idea of preferences. If it wasn't in here, then it would be probably more considered in terms of HR planning. But people's preferences, definitely not. What is the most common metaphor for HR planning? Okay, this was probably one of my favorite questions. And at the end of this exam, I had so many students come and ask me this. What is it? Can anyone say in the chat what it is? I always like having these metaphors. These metaphors, for me, like metaphors are so important. Yeah, so Ali got it right, bathtub. Metaphors are so important because for me, I don't remember any of like the nonsense, the words, the definitions. I like big picture. Give me a picture of something and then I'll remember it. Culture is an iceberg. HR planning is a bathtub. Done, right? Like you better know the pictures, okay? Because those, so that's why I find it funny. Okay, so here's another one of for HR planning. Here's kind of like the mini case, okay, that we're talking about. Actually, why don't I do this? There we go. Okay. So where are we here? I'll put up the first question. Okay. So how many jobs are in the Markov analysis? Okay. So here's the Markov analysis. Let's just read the little mini case first, and then we'll go from there. You are HR manager at Floppy Factory. You know, I have to admit that writing exams is very enjoyable to me, and company names are always one of my favorite parts of the exam. Okay, the world leader in flip-flop manufacturing, you are conducting a Markov analysis to determine the supply of employees for next year. Again, quick reminder, number of employees this year, and this is the number of employees next year. Okay, left hand, oh, well, I explain it for you. The left-hand column refers to the current employees. The remaining columns refer to forecast number of employees in their prospective roles next year. Okay, good. Let's get rid of that. How many jobs are shown in the Markov analysis? Okay, look at the options 5, 6, 7, and then a whole bunch. Okay, so this one's a little trickier. Okay, this one's a little trickier because in class I typically say, hey, look at the, just this one column. Okay, so if we're looking at these, right, and you'd see that there's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Projected supply is not a job. It's just, basically how many, it's the projected supply. However, I tried to do a little trick when I wrote this question, okay? Because you'll see that there's a senior manager and a manager, okay? Senior manager and a manager, and then I have a shoe tester, but and then I have a salesperson and a salesperson, data entry,
Okay. You were sleeping, so that's why.
and then I have, I hope somebody wasn't sleeping. And then we have the shoe tester and a senior shoe tester. Okay, so in this case, we actually created a new job next year, right? That was the idea. That's the trick. Okay, so instead of there was 5 jobs currently this year. However, next year there's also going to be a 6th job. Okay, so how many jobs are shown in the Markov analysis? It doesn't specify whether it's this year or next year, so you have to assume that altogether, so it's 6. If the demand stays the same, how many shoe testers does Floppy Factory have to hire? Shoe testers, okay, if demand stays the same, so that's saying the shoe testers is not going to change. We're going to need 100 again next year. So if we look down, shoe testers down to the projected supply. In this particular case, the Markov analysis is completed, so you don't have to fill out anything. Okay, so in this case, there's 78 as the projected supply, and you need 100. So 100 minus 78 gives you 22. Okay. If the demand doubles, how might Floppy Factory? What a wicked name! How might Floppy Factory respond to their labor oversupply or shortage for salespersons? Okay, so salespeople. We know that the demand doubles. So instead of 13, it's going to be 26 because you're going to need twice as many people next year to match the demand. Okay, so salespersons, and we currently have 20. Okay, so 20 are expected for next year. So we need 26. We have 20, so we need to hire people. Okay, let's look at, so we have a shortage of people for salespeople. So let's look at which one of these options we could do. Hire part-time workers, yeah, that's a possibility. Are we going to promote people? Well, there's no junior salespeople, no senior salespeople, so no, that's not a good option. Hiring freeze, well, that's not going to resolve anything. We need more people, not less people. Job sharing, again, we need more people, not less. And telling people to buzz off, no, that's not the way to go. Okay. Oh, I didn't even highlight it. Sorry. The correct answer is actually hire part-time workers. That's the only option that involves bringing more people on because we need more. We need 6 more people. So instead of 6 full-time people, maybe we need 12 part-time people, something like that. Okay. There you go. Now we're going to legal requirements, diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay. Okay, so I have to admit, this is a question on last year's exam that I actually pulled off because there's an error associated with the question. Okay. But I still thought it was a good question to include for a discussion purpose. Okay. So what is a job that is likely to have a B4? A B4 is one of my favorite concepts in the space, a bona fide occupational requirement. It's the idea that you are legally allowed to discriminate against somebody because of a job requirement. Okay. Um, Now, if you think about all of these, which one could it be? YouTube influencer likely have, are they going to have a bona fide requirement? I didn't really, less likely than some of the other ones. Yeah. So Cheryl puts D. Yeah, that's what I said too. In class, we talked about a pilot. We talked about a bus driver. We talked about something that drives. Okay. However, after the class, somebody came up to me and said that they saw a Jimmy Kimmel show where Shaq was talking about him not being able to scuba dive because he was too big, right? Like, and then I actually Googled it, and apparently size is a factor. So this could have also possibly have been one as well. Less likely than a pilot, but yeah, as one as well. And then the police officer, again, this is such a general job. There's some police officers that are on the road. There's some police officers that are at a desk. There's some police officers that do analysis. Some police officers are, so again, I think if I were to do this again, I wouldn't just say a general job. I would be more specific in the role that they would be playing. Okay. So what ended up happening is I actually removed this question from the exam. So if say the question was the exam's out of 60, I made the exam out of 59, and anybody who got the question right, it was a bonus, right? That kind of idea. Okay. All right. Next one. In the work, how's the speed going, by the way? Is the speed good for the folks that are here? Yeah, okay, good. In the workplace, Sarah, a junior employee, faced a distressing situation when her supervisor, okay, note that it's a supervisor and not a colleague, okay, exploited his position. Oh, well, I guess just it kind of makes it a little obvious. Exploited their position of authority to pressure her into engaging unwanted sexual activities. I could have probably have made this a little bit more subtle in terms of the question, but it's pretty obvious what's happening. Despite feeling uncomfortable and coerced, so I'm actually using important words here. Sarah hesitated to report the incident for fear of retaliation and potential damage to her professional reputation. This is an example of what? Okay, so sexual innuendo, sexual deviance, sexual whistleblowing. I made these concepts up. Again, another fun part of being a prof is you make up, dummy answers. People actually wrote those, right? They thought they were kind of clever. Oh, maybe I missed that in class. No, not at all. So these are the two concepts we talked about in class: sexual coercion, sexual annoyance. The difference: sexual coercion is when somebody exchanges sexual activities for tangible job benefits. That is typically, not always, but typically associated with someone with authority. Okay, your manager, somebody who does scheduling, somebody who can give you some type of tangible benefit for the unwanted sexual activities. So as a result, anytime we're dealing with a supervisor, that's going to be coercion. Okay? Especially when they say coerce and like using their authority. Okay, here's the little mini case. I have two questions. The next question's on the following page. A hospital introduced a new protocol for staff promotions, emphasizing objective performance metrics. Okay, so we're looking at staff promotions. While the intention was to create a fair and merit-based system, the outcomes revealed unintentional discrimination. Okay, there we go. Female nurses, despite having comparable qualifications and experience, consistently faced barriers in advancing to higher positions within the hospital hierarchy. Sounds like glass ceiling. The hospital's performance metrics predominantly focused on emergency response times and night shift efficiency. Female nurses who were more likely to work flexible hours to balance caregiving responsibilities found it challenging to meet these criteria. Okay, so it's the idea that unintentional discrimination is discrimination that's embedded within a policy or culture in the organization. Okay, so it sounds like the hospital's performance metrics, how we're evaluating folks, is based on how immediate you're going to respond to a situation, and thus anybody working flexible hours are less likely to receive high performance metrics. Women or female nurses in this example are more likely to work flexible hours, as a result are more likely to receive lower performance metrics, or lower performance evaluations. That's the idea. Okay, so what unintended consequence can be inferred from the case above? Increased employee satisfaction, maybe for the men. Higher levels of teamwork, no. Disproportionate promotion of male nurses was not the turnover. Equal opportunities for all staff, no. Okay, there we go. That one was pretty clear. Okay, we're giving preference to men over women in this context. What aspect of unintentional discrimination is evident in this case? Intentional favoritism, systematic. Well, it says that it revealed unintentional discrimination, and systemic bias, or systemic discrimination is the same thing. So it's telling you right there what the answer is. Okay. Good. All right. Where's my pointer? How could the hospital address the unintentional discrimination in the promotion system? Maintain current system to prioritize efficiency. Well, if you maintain the current system, then you're not going to do anything to actually address the initial, promotions issue. So no. Increase the weight of seniority in promotion decisions. Well, is that going to really address the systemic? Implement flexible. Oh, there we go. So like these guys are like talking about things that don't have any relation to, like, the weight of seniority. Seniority is not mentioned in this case at all. Discontinue promotions altogether. There we go. Let's just nobody gets promoted. Exclude night shifts. That's kind of an interesting one, right? So, but we still have this issue with response times, right? Which still gives preference to men. So that's not a good one either. The real issue is we're stemming from this idea of flexible, women tending to work flexible hours. So there we go. We're simply saying we're going to consider, flexible performance metrics to accommodate diverse schedules, for women in this case. Good. Recruitment, second last chapter. How are we doing for time? Oh, we're doing well. I can slow down a bit. In a tech company aiming to enhance diversity, the HR team is seeking ways to attract more inclusive pool of candidates or attracting more bigger diversity. What strategy is most likely to achieve this goal? Relying solely on employee referrals? No, that would actually reduce diversity, because people typically hang out with people who are of their similar, way of thinking. And when I say diversity, I don't just mean race or, things like that. Similar age, similar way of thinking, similar background, similar everything, right? And people typically hang out with people who are more similar to them. So as a result, if you're getting referrals from employees, you're actually going to get probably a less diverse work environment. Utilizing blind recruitment techniques, yeah, possibly, right? Then when you don't have bias towards anybody who's in recruitment, you don't have bias towards, the recruiter bias. You wouldn't have those. Job postings on niche websites, you don't want niche. You'd want to have them all over the place if you want to get a diverse group. Prioritizing experience over skills, no, that doesn't really talk about diversity at all. Conducting interviews only during regular business hours. Well, as long as a diverse group of people only interact and only want to be interviewed during regular business hours, then you'd be okay. No, in this case, blind recruitment practices. A company values innovation and creative thinking. What company doesn't? What recruitment method could help identify candidates with a creative mindset? What recruitment method could help identify candidates? Okay, so we want to hire more creative folks to work in our creative company. Traditional job fairs, the word traditional is kind of like, opposite of creative. Let's ignore that. Eliminate open-ended questions in interviews. So that's kind of silly because that's like open-ended questions are allowing people to demonstrate their creativity by giving answers that are beyond, outside the box. So if you're having open-ended questions, you're at least inviting more interesting responses. Focusing solely on academic qualifications just because you're, typically, not typically, but creative people might not solely go to school, right? Or at least higher levels of education. Targeting recruitment efforts towards universities known for innovation. Yeah, possibly. People who are creative might be inspired by creating, the innovation taking place in an organization, or innovation is taking place because of the creativity of their student population. Ignoring candidates' past projects and portfolios. Well, if you're ignoring them, how can you see how creative they have been in the past? Okay. Again, I'm attacking or approaching these questions like I hope you would as well. So like one of the things you do is you always read through all of the answers, right? You scribble out one or two at a time. There's been a few times where I was like, oh, this is a possible answer. This is a possible answer. Leave those options so you're limiting to everything that you think could be the answer. And then you finally, if you have no other chance, no other choice, then take a 50-50 shot, take a guess. 1 out of 2, in terms of a guess, 50-50 is a lot better than 1 out of 5. Okay. Okay, Arby's. I'm getting hungry now. A popular fast food chain known for its roast beef sandwiches is facing recruitment challenges that impact, okay, so we're talking about recruitment here, impact its ability to staff its various locations effectively. Okay, so we want to staff different locations. Several constraints contribute to the difficulties the company encounters in attracting and retaining a qualified workforce. Okay, let's just, before we get to the constraints, it seems there's 5 constraints. Let's take a look at the question if we can zero in on things as we get through it. Why does Arby's struggle to predict staffing needs accurately in different regions? Okay. So I'm assuming that as we're going through this, somewhere in the constraints, they're going to talk about different regions, and then that'll point us to the answer. Okay, either that or some note around staffing needs. Okay, let's go. Arby's emphasizes the quality of its menu items, requiring employees with specific skills related to food preparation and customer service, which can limit the pool of candidates. That's true. That doesn't have anything to do with different regions. The demand for fast food can vary significantly across different regions. Okay, there we go. So that's a big check, making it difficult to predict staffing needs. Okay, so staffing needs is also mentioned. So, check. So it's this line item is specifically related to this question. You should probably read the rest of the question, make sure there's nothing else related to it, but I know there isn't because I've already read the question and I made the question. So the demand for fast food can vary significantly. So why does Arby's struggle to predict staffing needs accurately? Because the demand the demand varies significantly across regions, so that's why it's difficult to predict staffing needs. Okay, so now we know the answer. So why consistent demand across the regions? That's the opposite. Fluctuations in customer traffic. Just wait, is that? I think I did a typo here. I think I probably should. This should be fluctuating demand across all regions. Okay, fluctuating. So I probably, when I did this, probably took this question off the exam as well. Anyways, I wanted to include it just so you could see what the type of question it would be. Okay, so fluctuating demands, to be more consistent with the demand for fast food, can vary significantly. Okay. 74, what challenge does Arby's face due to seasonal peaks and troughs in customer traffic? So look at the word customer traffic and anything around seasonal peaks or troughs, right? Again, word, anything sounds similar. Okay, so we already did this one. Arby's experiences seasonal peaks and troughs again. It's like word for word in customer traffic. What challenge does Arby's face because of this? Arby's experiences this, leading to challenges in adjusting staffing levels to match fluctuating demand. Okay, consisting leads to challenges in adjusting staffing levels to match. Where's the word consistent staffing needs? Yeah, possibly. Oh, there we go. Difficulty adjusting staffing levels. Okay, there we go. So it's like in this one, read it carefully and you'll see. To be honest, now that I think about this, you don't really need to know HR. You just need to know how to like read questions, read carefully, and you could do well on these questions. How does the discussion around minimum wage impact Arby's recruitment efforts? Okay, as discussions around minimum wage increase, Arby's face challenges balancing the need to attract skilled workers and their potential financial strain of higher wage costs. Reduce the need, no. Eases financial strain. There we go. Again, pretty much word for word for that question. Okay. All right, last chapter going to be on the exam. A company wants to streamline the recruitment process to save time and resources. What technology solution is most suitable for achieving this goal? Okay, traditional paper applications. Well, that's not really technology. Manual resume screening. That's not technology. Applicant tracker. Yes. Avoiding. This isn't technology. Ignoring social media. Ignoring potential, technology. No, that's not correct. Applicant tracking systems. Once people apply applicant trackers, they track the applications, they monitor it. You can use filters to filter out certain applicants who do not have certain meets criteria or must-have criteria, things of that nature. Okay, the second one here, a technology company is hiring software developers. The hiring team decides to include a practical coding assessment as part of the interview process to evaluate candidates' hands-on skills. Okay, so coding test to test their skills. What stage in the selection process would this occur? Okay, so in this case, so preliminary reception, no, so that's when people apply for the job up front. Applicant screening, this is typically where you use the the automated tracking system to filter out people. No. Employment tests, yes, that's where you're testing them or testing their abilities based on everything they said in their resume and on their application. You want to test them to make sure that they're legit. Are you going to give anybody a coding assessment during an interview? Possibly in real life you are. In the textbook we refer to it as the employment test phase. So no. And a realistic job preview is the idea that you're trying to describe what an employee's typical day would be like on the job, right? So that's not it either. XYZ. I guess I got bored with naming them. Tech solutions. Okay. Before we read the case again, let's read the question to see what pops out. What is the primary focus of the technical skills assessment? I guess, I bolded them to make it easier for you at here. Okay, so let's just read the quick part up front to make sure we're not missing anything. A leading software development company is undergoing a period of expansion and is keen on enhancing its employee selection process. Okay, so we're talking about employee selection to attract and retain top talent. The company emphasizes a comprehensive approach that considers technical skills, all of these, culture fit and long-term potential. The HR department is revamping its employee selection approach to ensure that it aligns with the company's growth goals. Here are their changes. Okay, so we're changing, okay, enhancing or changing the selection process, okay? And we're doing it in this way, okay? And this question is related to technical skills assessment, okay? So shortlist candidates undergo an online technical skills assessment to evaluate their coding abilities, problem solving, and proficiency in relevant programming languages, okay? What is the primary focus? The primary focus is to evaluate those things. Okay, so cultural fit. No, it doesn't say anything about cultural fit. Assess problem solving skills. Well, I see problem solving skills there and coding abilities. Okay, so that's probably it. Verify work history. Well, doesn't have anything to do with that. Finalizing the job offers. No, we're still testing people. Ignoring candidates' qualifications. It's kind of the opposite of that. Okay, so that is the correct answer. What is the purpose of team collaboration exercise? Okay, so here we are, nice and bold, make it difficult for you to find. Candidates who excel in the behavioral interviews participate in a team collaboration exercise, simulating real world environments to evaluate their ability to work like that. Okay, what's the purpose? Evaluate their ability to work seamlessly. Am I missing something? What is the purpose? Conducting reference checks? No. Oh, maybe it's soft skills and teamwork. That makes sense. That team collaboration evaluates teamwork. Ability to work seamlessly in a team environment. Yeah. So cultural fit, no. Finalize job offers, no. Okay. Good. Stumbled on that one. I think I'm just getting tired. It's been a long day. Okay. Who is involved in the final stage in the final interview stage? Final interview with leadership. The final stage involves a comprehensive interview with top level executives. Okay, so who is it with? Top level executives. This interview aims to align blah, 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 blah. Okay, so who are the top level executives in an organization? You know, you probably don't have this person actually interviewing everybody, but in this example, team leaders, they're not top level executives, they're team leaders, yes. External consultants, no. Candidates, peers, no. Candidates, friends, yeah. Final stage. It's the CEO. Okay, and that's it. That's all I have for taking up last year's exam. I'm actually going to stop.